Okay, so we're on the last section, student financials. So most of you will not have filed taxes, although some of you might have. If you have filed taxes, it's going to be pretty much the exact same as what you did for parent financials. You're going to grab your taxes and you're going to answer it the exact same way. I'm going to fill this out as though I had not paid taxes because for most of you, since you're working part-time, you're not going to make enough money to be required to file taxes. So I'm going to say not going to file. You're not going to be able to use the IRS data retrieval tool if you didn't file. And now it's going to ask you, how much did you earn from working in 2019? So if you had a formal job that had you on the payroll, then you should have received something called a W-2 form at the end of 2019 that tells you how much you made from that job. And you would have received that from your employer, and you would have it regardless of whether or not you filed taxes because it's a form that your employer was required to provide you. It looks something like this. Obviously, this person made more money than probably you or I did, but it looks like this. It's a half sheet of paper, and you can get in that first box wages, tips, and other compensation. That's how much you made in that year. So for 2019, this person made $98,000. I did not make that amount. But let's say that you didn't have a formal job, but you earned some money through babysitting. In that case, you're just going to give an estimate. So I'm going to give an estimate right here and say that I made $1,000 from babysitting as a student. These questions are the same as the ones you answered in the parent financial section or may have been required to answer in your parent financial section. Do you pay child support? Probably not, although some of you may if you have a child who doesn't live with you, but you have to pay child support. Earnings from work under a cooperative education program offered by a college. Again, if you've never been to college before, you wouldn't have that apply to you. And then taxable earnings from need-based employment programs such as federal work study. Since you are not currently in college, you would never have gotten work study before. But next year when you fill out the FAFSA, that may be relevant. Now it's asking if you've received any child support. So you would put an estimate for that if you have received child support for a child that you have. It would not count child support that one of your parents have paid on you. So if you yourself have a child, you might have this. These are all the same. Most of you are not going to have a retirement savings plan. Most of you are not veterans. Most of you don't have workers' compensation or disability. And then the last question is money received or paid on your behalf not reported elsewhere on this form. So this would be money that you get or money that's paid for you by someone other than the parents that you put on your FAFSA previously. So a lot of you aren't going to have very much for this, but let's say, for example, you live with your mom and your stepdad, but your dad gives you money for certain things, and it would have to be a relatively substantial amount for it to make sense for you, and it would not be actual legal child support. So let's say your dad, even though he doesn't live with you, in addition to the child support that he may pay to your mom, gives you $100 a month, and so you get $1,200 a year total from your dad. You can report that on the FAFSA in this box. Most of you are not going to have to answer questions about your assets. It's going to allow you to skip it, but I'm going to say that I don't want to skip it just to show you. It's going to ask how much money do you have in your cash, savings, and checking accounts. So just open up your bank and look at how much is in there, add it together if you have multiple accounts, and put it in. If you don't have a bank account, just have an estimate of how much cash you have under your mattress or whatever. And I know some of you don't have any savings. It's totally fine to put 0 if you really don't have any money. Presumably most of you do not own investments such as stocks or bonds or additional houses. If you do, congrats, but I'm assuming that you do not. And then the last one is, do you have a business with over 100 employees? That would be pretty impressive and definitely something you should put in your admissions essays, but most of you do not have a business that large, if any.